think that's the main reason we need to get this clarified, is that it's taken up so much time in the past, the entire time I've been on council, in which we have political,
Don't go away, I have a question.
political handball in the sense of who's going to do what, and who has the authority to do what, and then questioning it every time it comes up. And you have the state statute, and then you have the fact that the city can still make decisions, and the two of them are in conflict right now. We need to get them together. We need to take this away so we don't waste any more time on it, so our law director, who's already spends a lot of time on a lot of things, doesn't need to be spending these things on these opinions all the time. And that's why, and his office kindly provided me all these different ordinances about the way other communities have approached it. There are many different ways. Some are charter cities. That's different than the statutory city involvement we're in. But I don't think the theory behind it's any different. But I think we need to settle this once and for all. We don't need lawsuits over what's the authority of the city council to do versus the rec department or the rec board. That those have wasted way too much of our time and the law director's time. And it's always, in my opinion, been over some sort of a political inner battle somewhere else. It had really little to do with what was going on. And we need to clarify it, get it done. I think we should specifically set forth the powers. I think we should specifically say who has the authority to make the appointment. I think that appointment should always be with the approval and consent of council, because unlike anyone else, we are elected every 2 years, and if we will be held accountable and responsible for that every 2 years. So that's just my opinion on that right now. But we need to resolve it. We are the people that should be resolving it. We should listen to the rec board on this, because they're the ones that are there every day and know what it is. And I can't think of a circumstance, frankly, in which we would probably not approve what they've done. I don't think it comes up very often. But it needs to be decided once and for all, not have this political ball tossed back and forth all the time. Mr. Chauvin?
Thank you. I would agree with one thing that you just said. If you have, as much as I believe a board should be autonomous and should have decision-making powers, if you're not an elected official, you're not, you're controlling a lot of money. You have the chance to make good or very bad decisions. And if you're not an elected official, how are you answering to the people? These boards could, whether it's this park and rec board or whether it's another type of board, it's just too easy for them to go awry. So just so I understand the comment that I think you just made. So even if the Parks and Recreation Board does have the decision making as far as hiring and firing, they still do not control their own finances. We have to approve of that. So that's not what you're saying. You're not saying just to give it all to them.
No.
Okay.
Well, it's up to the 9 members of the council to make the ultimate decision. That's what we have to decide.
Personally, I think that if people are going to be controlling that kind of money, it should be an elected position, just like school board. That's not the issue that we're talking about here, but that's really the way it should be. It shouldn't be appointed. It should be elected people to give elected money.
Well, I'm not sure, again,
really
with the amount of money that's being dealt with, all appointments should come through the approval. Even the Board of Education appointments should get the approval of council too, for that same reason that you've said.
That's exactly.
But those are the different ways we can go. There's many different variations on this. And all of them have just what we discussed. One way, some have approval of the appointments, some have approval of the rec department head himself or herself. And some list the qualifications for that rec department head. I think we should look at all that. I thought the one appointment we've had recently, I felt was somewhat inadequate, since the appointment of the particular department head didn't meet the qualifications of the people below him. And it's not a mark on the person himself as an individual, but certainly if your rec department head should meet the qualifications of the people below him. So I think it needs to be resolved, and it shouldn't be a political football. It shouldn't be There's way too much money involved in this department to have politics being played. There's way too many decisions in this department to have politics being played. And there's way too much politics played in this department over the past 6 years that I've been on council. And a lot of it's just not factually based, you know, a lot of it's rumors and innuendo. Well,
Yes. I'd like to comment just a little bit on it. We had this discussion the other day. I believe if we are going to give them more votes authority, we should be looking at these people being elected, just like what you said. I don't believe should have the final say on money like that. I even told Larry that I thought, you know, they should be like the Board of Education, maybe elected. And I would kind of like to look at all of these things before we make the final decision. Now, this was done almost 20 years ago, so that doesn't mean that it was perfect. You know, and I've read some of the emails that have come in here in the last day or two or whatever. I haven't been able to really study them, but I saw things talking about some of the things that, you know, that I've heard before, looking at it like a board, like a school board electing them. And there was one today I looked at where the golf course was part of the Parks and Rec, but it was like a separate enterprise within it and stuff. I don't think we should write any of those things off yet. I think we should get the best, try to get the best, and try to satisfy most people there on how it should operate.
and I would like input from others on it. I mean, I thought some of the suggestions that I saw, and I didn't realize it, for instance, setting up a golf course advisory committee. I'm not sure that sounds like an excellent idea to me. And a rec Creation Center Advisory Committee. Because the people that use it on a daily basis probably have the best input on what's happening there. I mean, there are many ways we can go with this, but I think we need to get this moving and get it started and get it on once and for all so we can take this away for future councils and future administrations.
I guess first off, you probably don't need Perry anymore, correct?
Well, no, now you've made it that I'm gonna have to say something.
I don't want to.
You can't make the school board or the rec board appointments elected positions. I don't know how you can do that. You guys are elected. It goes back to the same theory that they're not some autonomous thing that isn't part of the city. They're not like, I mean, and I don't mean to act like a smarty or yell, but that they're no different than any other city department. They're just funded differently. And you guys are elected, and you're the ones who got to make the call. And the administration's elected, and I'm elected. And, you know, this theory that they can just do what they want and spend their money and do, that's not the way it is. So electing them doesn't, I don't know if you can do it, but it does, that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're elected. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I guess to follow that up with, in accordance with the opinion issued by the law director, I would kind of feel that the current board is the advisory. If they're not spending money and they're not allowed to appoint their own personnel, then they're nothing more than an advisory board. And that I do not see in the language that I'm reading. Now, I'm not a trained legal professional, but when I read the ORC code, I do not see anywhere that indicates that there could be an advisory. I see a lot of language that tends to my eye, leading me to believe that they might be given more authority than what the current direction of the city is heading towards. I would also beg to differ with the law director as far as an elected body. I think we could do that. It would completely alter the face of what our parks. I mean, we'd have to disband our current system. The citizens would have to vote a completely different park district in and alter the way they're funded altogether. I mean, it would change everything, but it could be done if that's the way we wanted to go. I would propose that what we need to do as a council is put together legislation that would give the authority, I guess, for things of finances or however we want to word it, to the board and let it pass or fail on its own. If it fails, then it goes to the current decision held by the law director. If it succeeds, then we move from there. There's no need to roll up 2 different pieces of legislation and then the next month decide which one to put forth. Put one forth, and if it fails, then the opposing view obviously is the victor, and that's the one we move forward on.
Well, yeah, I don't think a very hard time about it, but you did say that you're not sure that they couldn't be elected.
I doubt
You
very
don't
much that they
think-
can be
yeah, you
elected.
doubt it,
I've
but
never
you-
seen it
yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
which would lead me to think, and that's not a perfect way to look at it, I don't know how you create more elected positions. We are a statutory city, there's certain parameters we have to go with, as opposed to being a charter. And I don't think you can make Park and Rec Board members elected positions. Now, you may say that flies against my theory that, you know, a lot of these bloggers and everybody says, oh my God, we're a statutory board, we're a statutory board. Well, there's certain things you can do as a statutory city, and there's certain things you can't. And no one can differentiate between that. I think most of you can, but the ones out there hecking away, they can't.
Well, and I don't disagree with you. I haven't argued with you
I
too much
agree.
about this all along the way. But I still think it's something that's worth taking a look at. Because, you know, I've been around here a long time, and I've been involved with the Parks Board for probably 35 or 40 years through different playing ball and basketball and softball and all this kind of stuff. And it is different now. We never had controversy like this, but we never had $2.5 million a year to spend. So that is where the difference comes in. That's where it comes in that I don't think appointed people should have the final say on that. If we do want to look at that, then I think we do need to look at if they could be elected, if there was a way. But I'm open to any kind of discussion to try to bring it to some kind of a reasonable resolution and get away from this controversy year after year.
Well, and I would like some input from others that have if you don't have an opinion on it, that's fine. I'll put together an ordinance that I feel covers all the issues I've discussed. I mean, I agree. I can't believe that we would abdicate our authority to an unelected board over probably, when you talk about fees and income coming in, $4 million of the taxpayers' money. I don't think we should abdicate that. And I think when it comes to that, because this is a unique position, and I think that the appointments, perhaps, we should have some say on those too. I mean, it rarely comes up, but it does give another counterbalance to the appointment process, with 9 minds involved on it instead of just the Board of Education and/or the mayor, for instance. Because it has just been a sore spot everywhere, and everyone has always said this person was there to support this person and that person was, and frankly, I found out that most of those people are trying to do the best they can do under the circumstances with the facts that they've been given, without direct loyalty to the appointing body that put them there. Now, they're accused of it all the time, but I just haven't seen it. Mr. Peters?
I'm just putting my 2 cents worth in that I don't mean much. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with anything Mr. Manson or you have said or Ed, but when it boils down to this is all about 4 people. About 4 whiny-ass people that are complaining all the time about how the rec board is done and what the authority is there, and the authority is there. And I frankly think we waste a lot of time on it for 4 people. And if you can show me more than 4 people that are raising hell about it, then I might even think about it. But I'm of the same opinion. I went to the same law school Perry did. I think it's
Pass.
I flunked, but I went to.
Mr. Hanson?
I can't remember what I was going to say.
That's why I said it. I knew I would screw you up so bad you couldn't say it.
Well, you know, it's, I think we should discuss this, because the money has changed the whole picture on this thing. I think something else we need to look at, because of the money, is I personally don't believe that the school system should have any appointments, period. Or should we be going on and say, since Perry's got, 10% of the kids that go to school in Massillon go to Perry, and so many go to Tuslaw, so we'll give 1 to Tuslaw, 1 to Perry, 2 to Massillon, because they have more. This is our funds, and things have changed as far as the interaction between, just like the schools and the city, and everybody has to be very conscious of their own funding, okay? And you can't be commingling funds and stuff like that. That doesn't work, you know, the way it did, you know, letting somebody have access to the school building, so you give us a favor back here or something. There's too much involved with the funding that goes on here. And I really think that's something else we should look at. I don't believe that they should be appointed by the school system. We have 3-4 school systems represented in this city now. And I don't agree with that.
Mr. Sturgis may be able to answer whether or not we could actually do that. I don't see how we can do that.
We can change the composition of the board, make it whatever we want. We don't have to follow
The statute?
what the statute says. Like in those examples I sent you, they're all over the map. For whatever reason, back in '95, they chose to generally paraphrase what the revised code said. But, you know, that's a home rule issue, again, because we're allowed to, that only affects us. It doesn't affect Worcester or some other place. I mean, we can make that call. Make 5 people appointed by council, the mayor, we cut the schools out, put up more of them in, whatever you want to do. Just do something or don't do anything.
We gotta do something. Councilwoman Scott?
I was just looking at the ORC section that was provided, and I guess that's where we get the school board appointments. That's where we get the school board appointments.
Right.
I mean, I see your point about the other school districts within our city boundaries, but that's what the ORC says.
What does, can I just ask, how it would apply if you have more than one school district represented?
From what I read of the ORC, it doesn't really mention that. It just states, or I guess it doesn't entertain that. The board shall consist of 5 persons, 2 of whom shall be members of the Board of Education in the city or village school district, or shall be appointed by that Board of Education. So it doesn't really entertain the idea. I don't know. I mean, my opinion of this is, I guess, I've only been on council a short time in relation to some of the veterans, and so I can't, I guess, speak for all the time that's been wasted on this, but I guess if something's not broke, don't fix it. But I also believe that if we can clarify to get rid of all of the side discussions that just seem to come up, then I think we should. And I think at the very least we should maybe narrow down the issues to address, because I know we're talking about funding, we're talking about appointments. I thought this all sort of came about because of the new director and who has that power. So it just seems like there's a lot of ideas swirling, and at least for me, I think the issue about the director who has the power to appoint that or approve it, or I think that at least needs to be addressed. All these other issues, it sounds like to give them all, spending power. I don't know if I'm necessarily in favor of that for an unelected board, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot more work involved and a lot more research done. Unfortunately, Perry, if that would be a route we want to go, but I think at least for this point, just to clarify that one issue about the director's position.
Mr. Sturgis,
Yes, sir.
do you have any idea how historically the school board appointments came up in the Ohio Revised Code?
None. I really don't. I think it goes back to maybe like the 53 code was when this was created, and it's may have never been changed since then. I could look, but it reads the same right now as it read in '95, and I think it had been kicking around since the 50s.
Well,
I'll check the annotations, but that part I think has just been there. I have no idea.
and certainly the one lawsuit that your office spent a lot of time defending was created just because
We left out 3 words.
Golf course wasn't in it, right?
Golf course and council approval of the mayor's appointment of one of the members, which the way we originally wrote it wasn't required, and we changed it.
Okay.
I agree with Ms. Casa that the main concern is who has the power to hire and fire. And I'm not too crazy about the idea of elected members to the board, but that's just like it right now. Excuse me. That's it.
Mr. Lewis?
Just two quick comments, and then I'll be done for the evening. First off, I do ask that everybody be patient with us on this matter, because I understand some of you in this room may have been discussing this for a decade. But a little under 2 years ago, this city elected 6 new members to this council. And I think one of the reasons that we are all here is to address issues that they do not feel have been appropriately resolved in the past. So we are coming at it fresh and new, and you have to be patient with us because we don't have these years of having to hear these arguments. So I would ask for that patience. Secondly, ORC 755.13 is a big sticking point for me. I would ask that all of you guys try to read that small section. It's section A. It says essentially that the authority to supervise and maintain the parks, it kind of lies in the legislative authority, and that we can make a board, and this board essentially can maintain such facilities as authorized by the ORC, and then such local authorities may, for the purpose of carrying out such sections, employ play leaders, recreation directors, supervisors, superintendents, or any other officers or employees, and may procure and pay all for that. It doesn't say anything in there about an executive branch. It says the board and it says the legislative, but nowhere does it mention the executive branch. So as we move forward in this conversation, the very point that Felix has brought up, we may want to read over that, think about it, and consider that as we move forward. You know, as Perry already stated, home rule does apply. We can make it any way we want. If we say, well, we would prefer the mayor to handle this as one of her departments, then we can do that if we want. I just want us to look at the ORC and what the ORC is saying as we move forward.
Who's in this? I want to call Mr. Wolf up then too, yes? Go ahead.
Okay. I guess why are we calling people up to right now without, before we're even done discussing it, and okay, neither here nor there. But who is on the park board? You, Nancy, and Ed?
Correct.
All right. You guys can take my advice or not, I don't care. But what each one of you need to do is get a hold of, and I'm putting him on the spot, is get a hold of Glenn Gill. Okay? Because he can shed a lot of light on a lot of your questions. Okay? I've heard the thing already, but I didn't pay much attention to him. So, but I know he was with this thing from the start. He was a part of it. He was a part of forming the board. He was all very much involved. And he can tell you, and I'm sure Perry will agree with me, he can tell you how this all evolved to what it is today. And I think you guys need to start there. As the park committee, you need to start there. I think, and it's not going to hurt to listen to him, and you may think what he's telling you is wrong, but he can tell you the facts of how we got to where we are today. And I think that you guys owe that as committee members to talk to him and get those facts. And I'm sure that if I know Glenn, he'll be happy to share it with you, but I mean, he wouldn't even come here, but I think it'd be better if you guys just got the questions answered. That's just my advice.
Mr. Manson?
Yes, I totally agree with what you said, Ed, Andrea, Vanessa, anybody, Sarita, that, needs to learn, what has gone on here. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't like dealing with it after 8 or 10 years, but still, I realize there are new people, and you've got to get your own feel for what's going on here. And some of the things I've thrown out is just things that, just watching it over a long period of time, that I've just kind of come around to some of those things myself, just in an attempt to try to bring some information out to smooth this thing out. And maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say anymore right now, starting more.
Anyone else on the council?
We're not going to settle this at the next meeting.
No.
Okay.
Bye.